Hey everyone! I wanted to thank you again for being flexible with me and allowing this class to be asynchronous. I'm going to take you through a quick slide deck that's going to better prepare us for giving and receiving feedback because in the coming weeks we will be watching the videos of our peers and providing feedback for them. So I'm going to share my screen real quick and we'll go through this. As I'm preparing to share this, what I would suggest for you is to go ahead and open up to the discussion forum. And for this week's activity for Unit 4, go ahead and click on the peer review activity right here, and then add to the discussion forum here where I have tips for succeeding on this assignment. Go ahead and open this up and then click reply. And this is where you're going to put your responses to the quick questions that I'm going to ask you here in this slide that's coming up. You can put all of your responses just in one response here. You don't have to click multiple. There will be a couple questions and I'll let you know when it's time to hit submit. So this is where I want you to go ahead and post it. I'm just going to repeat those instructions one more time. You're going to go to Unit 8, or sorry, Module 8, Unit 4, click on the Activity 1, Peer Review, and then jump into the discussion forum from here. I've already got the cheat sheet here started for you, tips for succeeding on this assignment, and then from here you'll click reply, and this will be where you put your responses. If you need that again, you can always hit rewind on this video. I'm going to go ahead and dive into the slide deck I've got for you. It focuses on giving and receiving feedback with a growth mindset. So it's important to try to balance the praise with the critiques. Some people like to use a technique called the compliment sandwich, where you both lead and end with praise for things done well, and then offer your suggestive feedback in the middle. While this technique might not be for everyone, it is important to make sure that your feedback provides a balance of positive recognition and suggestions for improvement. Here's an example of the compliment sandwich technique. It's clear that your students really enjoyed this lesson. Your slideshow was very well organized. One suggestion I'd make is to consider adding more pictures into your slideshow to help support your language learners. Otherwise, I feel your lesson was very well paced and engaging. All right, this is your chance to practice this. So this is one of the responses you're going to put in the discussion forum where you just hit reply and you're waiting on this instruction. All right, for this one, we're going to try out our compliment sandwich technique. Aiden cut his own hair. Let's imagine that we are hairstylist instructors and we're going to provide Aiden with some constructive feedback wrapped in a compliment sandwich. All right, so at this time you can hit pause on this video and write a compliment sandwich suggestion for Aiden and his very unique haircut. All right, thank you for that. Tip 2, organize what you plan to say in your feedback. Just like you organize the content and delivery of your lessons, do this when providing a colleague with professional feedback. Break your observations and suggestions down into manageable segments. Avoid nitpicking every little thing and come up with a list of 3 to 5 specific areas for improvement. Provide suggestions for each area of improvement. I really like the visual for this one because I think it's very clear that sometimes our thoughts come out a little bit like this one that's very crowded and mixed up. And when we take the time to organize our thoughts, they tend to look more like the other picture. All right. Tip 3, be specific. Are you commenting on norms, routines, transitions, lesson content, lesson delivery, timing, assessments? Be specific. Be specific with your praise and be specific with your suggestions. All right. Which is the better example of specific praise? So for this one, you can add your response in the reply as well, and you can either just put the red or green, choosing the one that you think is the best example of specific praise. The green bubble says, "Wow, great transition after lunch." The red bubble says, The use of the song really made the after lunch transition move slowly. All right, you can pause this video and go ahead and type in the color of the bubble that has the best example of specific praise. All right, welcome back. Now we're gonna try making specific suggestions. Margot is making soup, but it tastes very bland. She would love a specific suggestion for spicing up her soup. We don't know what kind of soup Margot's making, so this is where your creativity can come into play. How can you provide a Margot with specific feedback about a way to improve the flavor of her soup? Any suggestion, any kinds of ingredients that you suggest are suitable. But really just the format of how you provide this information is important. So go ahead and hit pause on this video, and then you can go ahead and put your response in the discussion forum reply. All right, up next, tip 4, pause and check for understanding. Think about teacher talk time. While you want to deliver all of the feedback, it's important to make sure that this is more of a dialogue than a monologue. This is more if you're doing like a meeting with your peer. For this activity that we're going to be doing this week, it's all going to be written feedback and it's within a template. So this is less practical for this assignment, but it's good advice in general. Again, trying to make it more of a dialogue than a monologue. You want to check in with your listener and see how they feel about how the lesson went. You present, when you present an area for improvement, see if they have any ideas of their own on how to improve on it. After offering suggestions, see if the listener understands or has any questions about the ideas you've just shared. This is also a great slide deck to share with your mentor if you feel like your mentor could use a little more guidance on the giving feedback area. And I'll share this slide deck in the email as well. All right, tip 5. When receiving feedback, don't take it personally. Unless it's unsolicited feedback, nobody has time for that. I like this quote down here. Mistakes are proof that you're trying. Correcting mistakes are proof that you're growing. All right, thanks for listening. How prepared do you feel about providing your colleagues with feedback? So this is the final thing for you to put in your discussion forum reply. Let me know, are you feeling good? Would you like more resources? Or have you got some questions? And if you have any questions, of course, this would be an appropriate space for you to drop those. After you've completed this part, you can go ahead and hit submit on that discussion forum, and your participation for this class is already finished. All right. The last thing I want to do with you while I've got your attention is just go ahead and go over this coming week's activity with you. We've got just one activity this week. It is Unit 4, Activity 1. Oh, I apologize. There are 2 activities this week. All right, so let's take a look at activity 1. This is a peer review. What you're going to be doing is watching the videos of 2 of your peers. So you're going to go back into their videos, their standard video for standard 1 through 3, and you're going to choose 2 to watch. There's a peer review template right here, and it looks like this, and I'll walk you through this just a little bit. The first part of the template displays annotations, a lot like the ones we've done in Module 6 and many modules before. You put the timestamp, what you see, and explain why what you see is important, why it's a strength or an area of improvement. I'm not too strict about grading for this part. I think filling this out anywhere between 4 and 8 of these annotations is adequate. I'm looking more for quality than I am for quantity. Down here is where I pay a little bit more attention with the grading, and I focus a lot more on this. So the way that you will use this rubric is you're going to take a little highlighter when you have this document, and you're going to highlight the area that they felt they did well. So if you think they did basic, then you'll highlight. We'll use one of your color tools up here like this. Da-da-da-da. I'll model it for you real quick. So then you can highlight the text and then highlight the color, and then that'll be the indication that you felt that they deserve a basic for learner development. And then you'll go over here where it says justification, and you're going to type why you feel that they've earned the score that they did. And for this, maybe we'd say something like, did not include physical movement, or social opportunities. Something like this, just to explain the justification. You're going to go ahead and do that for standards 1 through 3, since you're watching their video that focuses on standard 1 through 3. And down here is the part that I really look pretty closely at. What went well? What are their glows? Go ahead and list a couple examples here. What areas can be improved? And you'll list a couple examples here. Some of your peers have really outstanding videos, and it might be a real challenge to find areas for improvement. That being said, if you can't find an area for improvement, then what I'd like you to do here is offer a couple extension ideas. What else could they do if they were going to elaborate on this lesson? So that would work. Down here, next steps and recommendations. Again, it does also mention extensions here. So up here, I would say type in your grows, your areas for improvement, and extensions if you're really struggling to find any areas for improvement. Down here is going to be more resources than anything. This will be where you can drop links for those extension ideas or drop links for those areas of improvement that will help them with that. If links are not applicable, then maybe you just go ahead and explain in more detail some of the suggestions you mentioned. What that could potentially look like is if you say, oh, you should use Think, Pair, Share. Then down here in the resources, oh my goodness, I can't type today. There we go. Down here, you would say maybe elaborate on what Think, Pair, Share is. Think, Pair, Share is, and then explain where you think it would be suitable in their class or how they could apply it to their teaching. Or you could take a link that describes Think, Pair, Share and then drop that here as well. Any of those will be suitable. All right, so going back, you're going to be watching 2 peer videos and providing this feedback template for 2 of your peers, filling that out in completion. What I do have for you here in the cheat sheet is kind of a sign-up guide for what is a sign-up guide. So this also breaks down and explains the activity a little bit more. And then down here, we're going to put the names for the sign-up. So for example, if Sarah on this, oh man, I really can't type today. All right. Over here where it says peer video, this is the person whose video you're watching. The names in here should remain the same. And then if you plan to watch Sarah's video, then you'll put your own name. Like I'm putting my name next to Sarah's video because I'm going to watch Sarah. And I'm going to put my name next to Mike's video because I watched Mike's video. Once a name has 2 names beside it, once Mike has had 2 people watch his video, then I want to encourage you to watch somebody else's video. So for example, if you're coming to this page and you see that Leah and Sarah already watched Mike's video, then I would encourage you to watch a different video. That way everyone can get 2 peer reviews for their work. So if you are Joe and you've come to this page, then maybe what you want to do is sign up for Sarah's video and Kelly's video. So then if you're Joe, you put your name here and here, making sure to avoid Mike because Mike already has 2 viewers. I'm actually just going to clarify this. This is viewer and then teacher. Teacher in video. Viewer of video. There we go. I get a lot of confusion with this one, so I wanted to clean that up. All right. So that wraps up activity 1. Let's go ahead and take a look at activity 2. Activity 2 is a fun one. For this one, it is planning for leadership and collaboration. This is an activity we're going to come back to in the future as well. So I encourage you, it does not say in this activity description, but I encourage you to go ahead and put this in a presentation format, maybe Google Slides or Canva or something else, because that will save you time in a few weeks when we resubmit this activity in a presentation format. So if you go ahead and do that now, that's going to save you some time later on. And it really doesn't take a whole lot of extra effort just to put it in that format preemptively. What you're going to be doing for this one, actually, let's go ahead and jump to the cheat sheet. You're going to check out the activity resources. And here's an extra one, real world issues. So our UN modeling activities here. And then step 2, you're going to brainstorm and discuss ideas with your peers in the discussion forum about ways to different kinds of project ideas that you might want to come up with. So this might make you think about that project-based learning activity we did in Module 3. This is a little bit different. This is not a project that is geared toward your students. This is a project that is geared toward you as a teacher, professional development, and maybe creating more community amongst your school staff, parents, stakeholders, and the students. So this is more like community based than just what you teach your learners. So the focus here is not about educating your students with any of the project ideas. The focus here is about how to improve your community with your own activities, things that you can do. So what you're going to do is I'm going to provide you with some examples because I know that explanation can sound a little unclear. But in your presentation or whatever form you want to submit this week, you're going to include your project purpose, your project objective, project impact, project description, project implementation and plan and timeline, and then your tools for measuring success. So if you do put this in a slide deck, then I'd say you could probably knock this out with a cover slide and then the 6 slides that cover each of these elements. The project is intended to improve your school community. So the next step of this will be that you plan to meet with your school leadership in order to present your project proposal and potentially put your plan into action. If you're in one of those schools where they do not like change, they absolutely don't want to hear anything you have to say for improving the school, don't worry, this does happen from time to time. I want you to go ahead and go through this activity with the mindset that maybe the next school you get hired at will be able to utilize this project that you've come up with. And even if you think your school will say no, that's okay. You don't get a better grade for a school that says yes or a school that says no. Present it anyways. And if they say no, that's okay. A lot of times they'll say, kind of. You'll get like a halfway yes response, but they'll have some ideas that they'll want to tweak about your project, and that's acceptable as well. The last step of this is to complete 2 peer reviews on other people's projects, and you can leave that the peer review section of the submission page. I'm going to show you a couple of examples done by previous students for this activity. Online students making social change. This was a teacher I had a few years ago that taught exclusively online during COVID and taught upper middle school, I think maybe 8th grade. And at the time, Baltimore was going through some big political changes. And what he did was he used a writing activity and combined it with a social studies activity and got learners to go ahead and write their representatives in order to enact some change in their educational policies that were becoming a big deal in this area a few years ago. So this is his project, and you can see he's got all of these different layers to it. It's just one idea. Let me go ahead and show you another one. English library in a Thai school. This was a teacher named David who I also taught a few years ago. And what he did was he noticed that his school library did not have any English books. So it seemed silly that he was teaching English to these students and there weren't even English books for them to check out at the library. So what he did was he collaborated with parents and stakeholders and collected lots of books in English, or even got some parents to throw in funding to purchase a couple of books in English. And he was able to put together an English section in the library at his school. Another cool thing that he did with his class is he had them all create their own little English books that could be displayed in the library as well. All right, and the last one I want to show you is a recycling project for young learners. Another teacher I had went ahead and put this project together. Here's a good picture. She had students collect recycled items and then turn them into a beautiful art project that were displayed near the recycling center of her school to help encourage recycling and also demonstrate some of the beautiful art that can be made. So, depending on the values of your school, you can come up with an idea that works for you and your school in a way that you can improve your school community. Actually, going back, I remember that when I did my project in Teach Now in 2014, I had my students, one of the school's values was community support, and I volunteered at an orphanage after school on Monday nights teaching students English in South Korea. And so what we did was my class did a producers and consumers unit. And so we created items and then essentially built like a school wide bake sale to raise money for the orphanage in the building next to our school. And it was wonderful. We raised over 2,000 American dollars. I think that's like I don't even remember how to say that for Korean won, but it was quite a lot of money. And when we handed the check to the woman that ran the orphanage, it was a really magical moment. So anything like that that works for you, your area, your school, and your super talents, how you can bring those into play for this project. Again, there's no guarantee that this project will come to fruition for you, and I understand that, and your grade will not be affected. But this is just an opportunity for you to be creative and try to implement it. If you can, more power to you. If you can't, we totally understand. All right. If you have any questions about these activities beyond what I've already shared here, go ahead and send me an email. I look forward to hearing from you. Otherwise, I wish you all a wonderful week. Thank you so much.